The courthouse felt heavier during Marcus Hale's trial than it had during my divorce. Maybe because this time, everyone already knew the truth. Reporters crowded the entrance every morning. Former investors stood outside, holding photographs of families they claimed Marcus destroyed financially. I attended the trial for one reason only: closure, not revenge. At least that's what I kept telling myself. Inside the courtroom, Marcus looked completely different from the man Claire once admired. No expensive smile, no confidence, no luxury, just fear hidden behind arrogance. Olivia sat beside me during opening statements. "You okay?" she whispered. "I think so. You don't have to stay through everything. I need to hear it." The prosecutor spent hours explaining how Marcus operated fake property developments across multiple states. Millions of dollars disappeared through shell companies and offshore accounts. Retired couples lost life savings. Small business owners lost retirement funds. Even employees inside Marcus's company helped hide illegal transfers. I listened silently while guilt twisted inside my chest. Claire almost tied her life permanently to this man. Then Daniel Brooks took the witness stand. Marcus immediately glared at him with pure hatred. Daniel adjusted nervously in his seat before speaking. Marcus controlled everything, he admitted. The fake contracts, the hidden accounts, all of it. The prosecutor nodded. Did Mr. Hale knowingly deceive investors? Yes. And why are you testifying today? Daniel swallowed hard. Because people lost everything. Marcus suddenly stood up angrily. "You're lying," he shouted. The judge slammed his gavel immediately. "Sit down, Mr. Hale." Marcus kept staring at Daniel like he wanted to kill him. For the first time, I saw what existed underneath Marcus's polished image. Nothing, just greed. During a lunch break, Olivia showed me an article on her phone. "Your investigation series just won an award," I said. She smiled weakly. "Feels strange celebrating while all this is happening." "You exposed the truth." "So did you." I shook my head. "I just survived it." Later that afternoon, Detective Torres testified about the financial investigation. Mr. Hale created multiple shell companies designed to hide illegal transfers, he explained calmly. "Did Claire Cole knowingly participate?" the prosecutor asked. Torres glanced briefly toward Claire before answering. "We found no evidence proving she understood the criminal activity." Relief quietly spread through my chest. Claire looked emotionally exhausted beside her attorney. For the first time since everything collapsed, she seemed truly aware of how deeply she had destroyed her own life. The trial lasted several more days. Every witness exposed another layer of Marcus's lies. By the final hearing, even Marcus's remaining supporters disappeared. Then sentencing day arrived. The courtroom stayed completely silent while Marcus stood before the judge. "You were trusted by investors, employees, and business partners," the judge said firmly. "Instead, you manipulated that trust for personal greed." Marcus laughed bitterly. "This entire case is exaggerated." The judge's expression hardened instantly. "You still refuse accountability?" Marcus pointed angrily across the courtroom. "Everyone used me," he snapped. "Daniel used me. Investors wanted fast profits. Claire wanted luxury. Nobody cared where the money came from." Claire looked like she'd been slapped. Marcus kept talking without remorse. "She wasn't some innocent victim," he continued coldly. "She loved the lifestyle." Watching him blame everyone except himself gave me a strange feeling. Not happiness, not satisfaction, peace. Because Claire finally saw the truth clearly. Marcus never loved her. He only loved admiration, power, and money. Everything else was disposable. After sentencing ended, people slowly started leaving the courtroom. Claire approached me carefully near the hallway exit. Her eyes looked red from crying. "You were right about him," she whispered. I stayed quiet. "He never loved me," she admitted painfully. "No," I answered softly. "He didn't." Claire looked down at her shaking hands. "I destroyed the only real relationship I ever had." Part of me wanted to comfort her automatically, but that chapter of my life was already over. "I'm sorry for all of it," she continued. "The lies, the affair, the humiliation." I looked at her silently for several seconds. Then I nodded once. "I accept your apology." Claire looked surprised. You do. Yes. But you'll never trust me again. No, I admitted honestly. I won't. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time she didn't argue. She simply nodded slowly. Then the courtroom doors opened behind us. Marcus walked past in handcuffs, surrounded by federal officers. For one brief second, our eyes met. The powerful man who destroyed so many lives looked completely broken now. Then Detective Torres announced the final outcome clearly enough for everyone nearby to hear. Marcus Hale has been sentenced to 22 years in federal prison. After Marcus's arrest, the entire scandal exploded publicly. News channels replayed footage of federal agents escorting him through the airport in handcuffs. Every article mentioned Claire too. Former friends stopped calling her. People who once admired her suddenly acted like she never existed. One afternoon, Ava called me unexpectedly. "Can we meet?" she asked quietly. An hour later, we sat inside a small bakery near downtown. "You were right," Ava admitted immediately. "About what?" "Everything." I stayed silent. "I defended Claire because I thought your marriage simply failed," she continued. "I didn't realize how selfish she became." I looked down at my coffee. "She visited me yesterday," Ava said. "How is she?" "She barely leaves her apartment." Part of me still felt pain hearing that. Ava sighed heavily. I told her she destroyed the best thing in her life. That sentence stayed in my chest long after the conversation ended. Meanwhile, I kept trying to rebuild myself slowly. Some mornings were easier than others. Some nights still destroyed me completely. But at least I was moving forward instead of drowning. Olivia became part of that progress without me fully realizing it at first. We spent hours together reviewing documents and preparing statements proving I had no involvement in Marcus's crimes. "You know," she said one evening while organizing files across my kitchen table, "most people would have completely fallen apart by now." "I almost did. But you didn't." I leaned back in my chair tiredly. "Some days I still feel broken." Olivia smiled softly. "Broken people usually don't fight this hard to heal." Her words affected me more than I expected. For the first time in years, I started imagining a future that did not revolve around Claire. That realization scared me almost as much as it comforted me. A few days later, Lily invited me to another quiet meeting after work. "You officially cleared your name," she said while handing me paperwork. Relief washed through my chest instantly. "So it's over?" "For you, yes." I exhaled slowly. "Thank God." Lily studied me carefully before speaking again. "There's something you should understand, though." "What?" "You came dangerously close to financial ruin." I frowned. "How close?" "Had investigators believed you knowingly shared those accounts, your assets could have been frozen too." The realization made my stomach twist. All because I trusted my wife. Lily nodded sympathetically. Blind trust becomes dangerous when people stop being honest. I stared at the papers silently. For years, I believed loyalty automatically protected relationships. Now, I understood how easily trust could become a weapon. Later that evening, Noah joined me for dinner. "You seem calmer lately," he observed. "I think I'm finally accepting reality." "And what reality is that?" "That Claire isn't coming back." Noah raised an eyebrow. "Do you even want her back anymore?" I opened my mouth, then stopped. After several seconds, I quietly answered, "No." Saying it aloud felt strange. Painful, but honest. A week later, Claire asked me to meet one last time before the divorce hearing. She looked thinner than before. Tired too. We sat across from each other inside our lawyer's office while final paperwork covered the desk. "You removed the financial settlement request," I noticed quietly. Claire nodded. "I don't deserve anything from you anymore." Hearing those words hurt in a completely different way than her insults once did. Not because I wanted revenge, because I remembered the woman she used to be before greed and insecurity changed her. "You really loved him?" I asked carefully. Claire looked down immediately. "I loved the fantasy," she admitted. "And now?" "Now I understand how badly I confused money with happiness." Silence filled the room. Finally, she signed the divorce papers with shaking hands. When she slid them back across the desk, something inside me quietly ended forever. Neither of us spoke while leaving the courthouse later that afternoon. Outside, cold wind moved through the crowded streets while people rushed past without noticing us. Claire stopped near the stairs. "I'm sorry, Ethan," she whispered one final time. I looked at her for several seconds. Then I nodded once. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. Just acceptance. Claire walked away slowly until she disappeared into the crowd. I stayed standing outside the courthouse long after she left. My chest still hurt. The scars still existed. Part of me probably always would. But underneath the heartbreak, another feeling slowly appeared for the first time in months. Freedom. I barely slept after Detective Torres called. Every possible outcome kept replaying inside my head. Claire betrayed me. She lied to me. She humiliated me. Now my testimony could decide whether her life completely collapsed. The next morning, I sat across from Detective Torres inside a gray interview room downtown. "We believe Claire participated indirectly in several financial transfers," he explained calmly. "She says she didn't know the money was illegal. We're still investigating that." I rubbed my forehead tiredly. "So why do you need me?" "Because intent matters." I frowned. Meaning, if Claire knowingly manipulated shared finances, her legal situation becomes worse. The room suddenly felt smaller. "You want me to help prosecute my own wife? Your honesty will influence the investigation." After leaving the station, I immediately called Noah. "So let me understand this," he said. "Claire cheats on you, steals money, destroys your marriage, and now you're considering helping her?" "I didn't say that. You're thinking about it." I stayed quiet. Noah sighed heavily. "Ethan, she made her choices." "I know. Then let her deal with the consequences. She may actually go to prison." "And whose fault is that?" His anger matched the anger I kept trying to suppress myself. That evening, I visited my mother. Diane poured tea while watching me carefully. "You look torn apart," she said softly. "I don't know what the right decision is anymore." "Tell me." I explained everything slowly. When I finished, she stayed silent for several seconds. "Do you still love her?" she asked gently. I looked away immediately. "Part of me does. That makes this harder. She destroyed our marriage." "Yes," Diane replied quietly. "But don't let betrayal turn you into someone cruel." I frowned. "So you think I should help her?" "I think you should protect your humanity." Her words followed me all night. The next afternoon, Samuel Green joined me outside my office building during lunch break. "You've been distracted lately," he observed. "My life became a disaster." Samuel nodded slightly. "And now you're deciding whether revenge will heal you." "I'm not trying to get revenge." "Aren't you?" I opened my mouth to answer, then stopped. Samuel looked at me calmly. "Revenge feels powerful in the beginning," he said. "But eventually it chains people to their pain forever." I stared at the busy street silently. "So what am I supposed to do?" "Decide who you want to become after this." Meanwhile, Marcus's world kept collapsing publicly. Olivia called me later that evening with another update. "Daniel Brooks is cooperating with investigators," she explained. "Marcus's business partner?" "Yes." "What changed?" "He wants legal protection." I laughed bitterly. "So everyone's abandoning Marcus now." "People stay loyal to power," Olivia replied, "not to falling empires." A few hours later, Claire texted me, asking to meet again. Against my better judgment, I agreed. She looked exhausted when she entered the cafe. "Thank you for coming," she whispered. I folded my arms quietly. "What do you want?" Claire stared at the table for several seconds before speaking. "Marcus manipulated me." I almost laughed. "You're blaming him for your affair now?" "No," she said quickly. "I made my own choices." "Then explain." She swallowed hard. "He constantly talked about luxury, success, travel, expensive homes. He made ordinary life sound pathetic." "And you believed him?" "Yes." I shook my head slowly. "I spent years trying to build a stable future for us." "I know that now." "Too late." Tears filled her eyes instantly. "I was insecure," she admitted softly. "Everyone around us seemed more successful, more exciting. I started feeling embarrassed by our normal life. That normal life was real. I understand that now." Her voice cracked completely. "I humiliated you," she whispered, "and I only realized your value after losing everything." Hearing those words should have satisfied me. Instead, they just made me feel tired. Part of me still remembered the woman I married, but trust was already dead between us. Finally, Claire looked up carefully. "Are you going to help them destroy me?" I stared at her for a long moment. No, I said quietly, but I'm not saving this marriage either. Claire closed her eyes slowly, like she expected that answer all along. At that exact moment, my phone buzzed. Olivia. I answered immediately. They caught Marcus, she said. I stood up straight. Where? At the airport. Claire's face turned pale instantly. Olivia continued speaking. He was trying to flee the country when federal agents arrested him. Every time I opened social media, Claire looked happier without me. Luxury dinners, vacation photos, champagne glasses beside rooftop pools. Marcus stood beside her in every picture wearing expensive watches and fake confidence. For the first few weeks, those photos destroyed me. I stared at them late at night, asking myself the same question over and over. What did he have that I didn't? One afternoon, Noah grabbed my phone from my hand while we sat inside a diner. You need to stop doing this to yourself, he said. I just want to understand. No, you want to suffer. I leaned back heavily. She replaced me so easily. She replaced stability with excitement, Noah replied. That's different. I looked down silently. You know what Marcus really looks like lately? Noah asked. What? Stressed. That got my attention. What? He's being pressured by investors. My eyes narrowed slightly. How do you know? A friend of mine attended one of Marcus's business meetings. What happened? Apparently some guy named Daniel Brooks was demanding answers about missing money. I remembered the name from the financial records. That's one of Marcus's partners, I muttered. Exactly. For the first time in weeks, I felt something besides heartbreak. I felt suspicion. Later that evening, Olivia met me at a quiet cafe near my apartment. You were right about Marcus, I told her immediately. Olivia nodded. Things are getting worse for him. How bad? She slid a folder across the table. Fake property investments, she explained. Marcus promised luxury developments that barely exist. I flipped through the pages slowly. There are dozens of victims. Probably more. Why hasn't he been arrested? Because wealthy people hide problems longer. I looked at one document showing millions of dollars disappearing between shell companies. Claire has no idea who she's living with, I whispered. Or she doesn't want to know. That possibility stayed in my head all night. Meanwhile, I slowly started rebuilding pieces of myself. I began having dinner with my mother again every Sunday. You're eating better, Diane noticed one evening. I'm trying. You're sleeping? Not really. She squeezed my hand gently. Healing takes time. I also started therapy, though admitting I needed help felt humiliating at first. You blame yourself constantly, my therapist told me during one session. Because maybe I failed as a husband. Did you force Claire to cheat? No. Did you force her to lie? No. Then stop carrying responsibility for someone else's choices. Those words stayed with me afterward. I even started exercising again with Noah. You look less miserable today, he joked while we lifted weights. Thanks. I think. I'm serious. I wiped sweat from my face. I still think about revenge sometimes. Noah nodded slowly. That's normal. I want Claire to feel what she did to me. And then what? I stayed quiet. You know what surviving looks like? Noah asked. Waking up one day without needing revenge anymore. That hit harder than I expected. A week later, I received another call from Olivia. Marcus is in trouble, she said immediately. What happened now? Several accounts connected to him were frozen this morning. Frozen by who? Federal investigators. I sat up straighter on my couch. Does Claire know? I doubt Marcus is telling her everything. Part of me almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That evening, my phone rang again. Claire's name appeared on the screen for the first time in weeks. I stared at it before answering. Hello. Her voice sounded shaky. Ethan. I immediately noticed something different. She sounded scared. What happened? I asked carefully. I need help. The irony almost made me laugh. With what? There's a temporary issue with Marcus's accounts. Temporary? Yes. I stayed silent. Can you loan me some money? She asked softly. I closed my eyes slowly. How much? Just enough to cover a few things until this gets fixed. A few things, I repeated. Please don't do this right now. Do what? Judge me. I stood near the kitchen window, staring into the darkness outside. A few months earlier, Claire abandoned our marriage because Marcus represented wealth and excitement. Now she was calling the man she betrayed for financial help. Does Marcus know you're asking me? I asked. No. Why not? Because he's stressed enough already. I laughed quietly. What's funny, she snapped. You left me for money, Claire. That's not fair, isn't it? She started crying softly. I didn't think things would become this complicated. That's because you only looked at the surface. Ethan, for years, I would have done anything for you, I interrupted quietly. Another silence filled the call. Then I finally understood something. Karma did not arrive loudly. It arrived slowly, and it had finally started knocking on Claire's door. The divorce process started 2 weeks later. Every document felt like another knife sliding deeper into my chest. I sat alone in the apartment one rainy afternoon, staring at Claire's empty side of the closet when my phone rang. Ethan Cole, a woman asked. Yes. My name is Lily Hart. I work in bank compliance. My stomach tightened immediately. Did something happen? I need to ask you a few questions regarding recent transactions connected to your joint account. I stood up slowly. What kind of questions? Are you available to meet privately? 30 minutes later, I sat across from Lily inside a quiet coffee shop downtown. She looked nervous. I normally wouldn't do this, she said quietly. Then why are we here? Because your name appeared during an internal review. I frowned. Review of what? Suspicious financial activity. Cold fear spread through my chest. You think I committed fraud? I don't know what you know yet. I don't know anything. Lily studied my face carefully before speaking again. Several transfers linked to your wife's account were routed through shell companies. What companies? Businesses connected to Marcus Hale. I leaned back heavily. Jesus Christ. You honestly didn't know? No. She lowered her voice. Large amounts of money have been moving between fake accounts for months. How large? Million. The word made my pulse spike. That's impossible. I wish it was. I rubbed my face hard. Claire's involved in this somehow. We don't know. What do you mean we? Lily hesitated. Certain financial activities connected to Marcus are being quietly monitored. I stared at her silently. Listen carefully, she continued. You need to separate your finances from your wife immediately. You think I'm in danger? I think your name being attached to these accounts could become a serious problem. Can you prove Marcus is involved? I can't officially share confidential records. Then why warn me at all? Because you don't look like someone hiding criminal money. For the first time in weeks, someone sounded genuinely concerned for me. I swallowed hard. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. After leaving the coffee shop, I sat inside my car trying to process everything. Claire cheated on me. Now there was a chance she accidentally dragged me into financial crimes too. My phone rang again before I could even think clearly. Ethan, who is this? Olivia Reed. I don't know an Olivia Reed. I'm a journalist. My chest tightened instantly. Why are reporters calling me now? Because Marcus Hale is attracting attention. I stayed quiet. I heard your wife recently left you for him. Olivia continued carefully. Who told you that? People talk. What do you want? I'm investigating Marcus. The rain tapped softly against my windshield while I listened. What kind of investigation? I asked. Fraud. Money laundering. Fake property investments. I closed my eyes. So the rich businessman act is fake. Not entirely, Olivia replied. People like Marcus usually mix real success with illegal money. I laughed bitterly. Claire destroyed our marriage for a criminal. You sound surprised. I thought he was just another arrogant rich guy. There's more under the surface. Olivia paused briefly before speaking again. You should protect yourself. I'm trying. If you have financial records connected to Marcus, keep them. Why? Because people around him eventually become targets too. After the call ended, I drove home feeling physically sick. That night, Noah came over carrying takeout boxes. You look terrible, he said immediately. You were right about Marcus. I wish I wasn't. I told him everything Lily and Olivia said. Noah whistled under his breath. That's bigger than an affair. I think Claire got involved without understanding what was happening. Or maybe she ignored the warning signs because she liked the money. I hated how possible that sounded. I keep asking myself how we got here, I admitted quietly. Noah handed me a drink. Some people confuse luxury with happiness. I stared toward the dark kitchen. I would have given Claire anything. That's the tragedy, Noah replied. You already did. The next morning, Lily called me again. There's one more thing you need to see, she said quietly. An hour later, she slid a printed document across the table inside another small cafe. I looked down at the transaction history. One transfer immediately caught my attention. $50,000. The exact amount Claire withdrew from our joint account. What am I looking at? I asked. Lily pointed at the timestamp. Your wife transferred money from your savings account at 8:14 p.m. I nodded slowly. 3 hours later, Lily continued. Marcus Hale moved the same amount into an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. My blood turned ice cold. 3 days passed before I finally confronted Claire again. I stood in the living room, holding my phone, while she removed her earrings near the mirror. I saw you with him, I said quietly. Her hand froze for half a second. Saw who? Marcus. Claire slowly turned toward me. You followed me. You lied to me. You invaded my privacy. I laughed bitterly. Privacy? You kissed another man in public. She crossed her arms. Then you already know everything. The calmness in her voice hurt worse than screaming. How long? I asked. A few months. A few months, I repeated softly. And you came home every night pretending nothing changed. You stopped noticing me years ago. That's not true. You cared more about work than this marriage. I worked for us. You worked because it made you feel important. I stared at her in disbelief. So cheating was your solution? I didn't plan it, but you kept doing it. Claire grabbed a folder from the kitchen counter and walked toward me. We should stop dragging this out. I frowned. What is that? Divorce papers. The word hit me like a punch to the chest. You're serious? Yes. I opened the folder with shaking hands. You want the apartment? I asked. And financial support. You cheated on me. That doesn't erase 10 years together. I looked up slowly. You already replaced me. Claire's expression hardened. Marcus understands me better than you ever did. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Every memory in my head suddenly felt fake. Later that afternoon, Ava came to the apartment while Claire was gone. She told me everything. Ava said carefully. She told you her version. She said you two stopped loving each other. That's not what happened. Ava sighed. Sometimes marriages fail naturally. She stole money from our account. She said she planned to return it. She's living with another man. Ava looked uncomfortable. I'm not defending cheating. You already are. That's not fair. I rubbed my eyes tiredly. Do you know how humiliating this feels? She's confused, Ethan. No. She made choices. Ava stayed silent after that. That evening, Noah spread printed bank records across my dining table. You need to look at this, he said. I barely survived seeing the divorce papers today. This matters. I sat beside him while he pointed at several transactions. See these company names? He asked. Yeah. They're connected to Marcus. I frowned. How do you know? I asked a friend in corporate finance. I scanned the pages slowly. Why are there so many withdrawals? That's what worries me. The numbers made my stomach twist. Large amounts move between accounts every few weeks. This feels illegal, I muttered. Exactly. I leaned back heavily. What if Claire's involved? She may not even realize it. Or maybe she does. Noah looked at me carefully. You still love her, don't you? I laughed weakly. That's the pathetic part. The next morning, I completely lost control in my office parking lot. I sat inside my car, gripping the steering wheel while tears burned my eyes. I gave her everything, I whispered to myself. A knock suddenly came against the window. Samuel Green stood outside, holding a coffee cup. You planning to sleep in here? He asked calmly. I quickly wiped my face. Rough morning. Samuel entered the passenger seat without asking. You know, he said quietly, pain usually does one of two things. I stared ahead silently. It either destroys a man, he continued, or it transforms him. I don't feel strong right now. Strength comes later. My wife left me for another man. Samuel nodded slowly. Then stopped focusing on keeping her. I looked at him. What do you mean? Protect yourself emotionally. Legally too. I still keep hoping she'll regret it. She probably will, he replied. But regret doesn't rebuild trust. That sentence stayed in my head all day. When I returned home that evening, Claire was packing clothes into expensive luggage. You moving out? I asked. For now. With him? Yes. I swallowed hard. Was I really that terrible? Claire zipped the suitcase closed. You were safe, she said coldly. And Marcus? He's successful. I felt anger rising inside my chest. So this was about money? You wouldn't understand. Try me. She looked directly at me without emotion. Marcus makes more money in a month than you make in a year. The next morning, I held my phone in front of Claire while she poured coffee into a mug like nothing had happened. You took $50,000 from our account. She barely looked up. I already told you why. You said your friend needed help. She does. Then why didn't you ask before moving the money? Claire sighed loudly. Do I need permission every time I make a decision now? That's not what I said. You're acting paranoid, Ethan. I stared at her. Paranoid? Yes. First you questioned my phone, now my spending. Our spending, I corrected. She slammed the spoon onto the counter. You know what? I'm tired of this controlling behavior. The word controlling hit me harder than I expected. I'm trying to understand what's happening. What's happening is you don't trust me anymore. You emptied half our savings. And I'll put it back. When? Soon. That's not an answer. Claire grabbed her purse. I'm late for work. Claire. What? Look at me and tell me nothing's going on. She finally met my eyes. Nothing is going on. Then she walked out the door. I spent the entire afternoon replaying the conversation in my head. Part of me wondered if I really was overreacting. Maybe stress had changed me. Maybe marriage naturally became distant after years together. Then Noah called. You busy? He asked. No. I followed Claire today. My stomach tightened immediately. You what? You weren't going to do it yourself. No. She met the same guy again. I leaned forward slowly. Where? A private club downtown. Did you get his name? Marcus Hale. The name sounded familiar. Who is he? I asked. Some rich real estate investor. You sure? I checked his social media. Expensive cars. Yacht parties. Private jets. The guy practically lives online. I stayed silent. Noah, I said carefully, maybe they're just friends. You don't kiss friends on the neck, Ethan. My chest went numb. You saw that? Yes. I closed my eyes. I'm sorry, Noah muttered. After we hung up, I searched Marcus Hale online. Hundreds of photos appeared instantly. Marcus stood beside luxury cars, celebrities, and models at expensive parties. Every picture screamed money. But something felt strange. According to several articles, Marcus had been broke less than 5 years ago. Then suddenly, he became rich almost overnight. I kept scrolling until my mother called. You still coming for dinner? Diane asked. I forgot. You never forget. I've had a rough day. Then come eat. An hour later, I sat across from her at the kitchen table while she watched me carefully. You look exhausted, she said. I think Claire's hiding something from me. My mother stayed quiet for a moment. Another woman once told me marriage survives on honesty, not love. What does that mean? Love without honesty becomes poison. I rubbed my face tiredly. I saw money disappear from our account yesterday. How much? 50,000. Her eyes widened. Did she explain? Not really. Do you think she's cheating? The question made my throat tighten. I don't know. Yes, you do. I looked down at my untouched plate. She wasn't always like this, I whispered. People change slowly, Diane replied softly. That's why betrayal hurts so much. You usually see it one piece at a time. Later that night, I parked across the street from a rooftop restaurant Noah mentioned earlier. Rain covered the windshield while I watched couples entering the building. Then Claire appeared. My heartbeat stopped instantly. Marcus stepped out beside her wearing a dark coat and smiling confidently. Claire laughed at something he said. I gripped the steering wheel harder. Please don't do this, I whispered. Then Marcus pulled her close, and Claire kissed him. Everything inside me collapsed. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred while memories flooded my head all at once. Our wedding dance. Lazy Sunday mornings. The promises we made when we had nothing except each other. None of it meant anything anymore. I stayed inside the car for almost an hour before driving home. Claire arrived 30 minutes later. You're still awake? She asked casually. Yeah. How was your night? I looked directly into her eyes. It was fine, I lied. She smiled softly. Mine too. Rain hammered against the apartment windows while I stared at the bills spread across the kitchen table. 5 years ago, I believed hard work could protect a marriage from anything. I worked late nights, accepted extra projects, and ignored my own exhaustion because I wanted Claire and me to have a peaceful life. Back then, she used to kiss me whenever I walked through the door. Lately, she barely looked at me anymore. Can we talk? Claire asked quietly. I glanced up from the papers. You sound nervous. I'm not nervous. You've been acting strange for weeks. She crossed her arms. I need $50,000. I blinked slowly. 50,000? My friend is in trouble. What friend? Why does that matter? Because people don't usually ask for 50 grand without details. Claire grabbed her wine glass and took a long sip. You always do this. Do what? Make me feel guilty for asking you for anything. I rubbed my forehead. Claire, that's our savings account. And we can replace it. Not quickly. Her phone buzzed beside her plate. She snatched it so fast that my stomach tightened. Who keeps texting you? I asked. Nobody. You smiled at the screen. You're imagining things. I stayed quiet, but my chest felt heavy. Over the last few months, small changes had started piling up inside my head. Claire suddenly protected her phone like it contained state secrets. She started taking mysterious weekend trips with weak explanations. Every time I tried asking questions, she somehow made me feel like the bad guy. You don't trust me anymore, she whispered. I'm trying to. That's not an answer. Then tell me the truth. I already did. Her voice sounded smooth, almost rehearsed. Somehow, that scared me more than yelling would have. During dinner, she barely touched her food. Her attention stayed glued to her phone while rain echoed through the apartment. You've checked that thing 20 times, I said. It's work. At 9 o'clock? Yes. You hate working at night. Claire pushed her chair back sharply. Why are you interrogating me? Because I feel like I'm losing my wife. For 1 second, guilt flashed across her face. Then it disappeared. You're being dramatic, she muttered. Later that night, I called Noah while Claire showered upstairs. You sound exhausted, Noah said immediately. I think Claire's hiding something. There was a long silence. Noah, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this. My grip tightened around the phone. Tell me what? I saw Claire downtown last week. So, she wasn't alone. The room suddenly felt colder. Who was she with? A guy in a gray suit. Expensive watch. They walked into the Grand Meridian Hotel together. You're wrong. I wish I was. Noah, Claire wouldn't do that to me. I'm just telling you what I saw. I looked toward the stairs, hearing the shower still running upstairs. You think she's cheating? I whispered. I think you should start paying attention. After we hung up, I sat there in silence for several minutes. Part of me wanted to dismiss everything immediately. Claire was my wife. We built a life together. We survived layoffs, family problems, and years of struggling financially. Affairs happen to other people, not us. Claire finally came downstairs wearing one of my old shirts. You okay? She asked softly. Yeah, just tired. She leaned down and kissed my forehead, but the gesture felt empty somehow. I'm going to bed, she said. Claire, what? Are you happy with me? Her eyes shifted away for half a second. Of course. She disappeared into the bedroom before I could say anything else. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed on the table. I picked it up absent-mindedly, expecting another work email. Instead, I saw a banking notification. Transfer complete. $50,000 withdrawn from joint savings account. Authorized by Claire Cole. My heart stopped.